Hello and welcome to the 13th INSS International Conference. I'm Yaron, and with me, Mr. Igor Yurgens. He is the chairperson of the board of the Institute of Contemporary Development in Moscow. Good evening, sir.
Good evening, thank you.
I would like to ask you, first of all, about Russia's policy in the Middle East. What are the greatest concerns of Russia in the beginning of the new decade?
We are pushed out from Europe, and I have a bet with you. If our relationship with Europe and internationally would have been better before Ukrainian crisis kind of a phenomena, then we would be less active in Middle East, because otherwise it would be overextension. At the moment, by the course of events, by the Obama's red lines, we were pulled in. Of course, we have traditional old friends like Assad family and some others, but at the moment the preoccupation is to be involved, to get an access to the Mediterranean, to be in the center of the conflict resolution, to be respected, but not to be overly involved militarily, economically and financially.
Let's speak about Syria, because there's a great deal of discussion in this conference about the future of Syria. How would you describe the relationship between Russia and Assad regime, and also the prospects for future cooperation?
I think we will stay there to protect the hardly won assets like Tartus, Latakia, etc. But our involvement in the reconstruction period would be limited. Of course, we will not be willing to give all the victories to somebody else. And from this point of view, if ISIS again raises its head, for example, or if there is an existential threat to the Bashar's position in Syria, we will be a little bit more involved. But I don't think that we will go out of our way to stay there forever. If we have a grand plan, and you know that Netanyahu and Putin exchange opinions every other month, and Netanyahu will be in Moscow tomorrow for the discussions with Putin of the New Deal plan. If we can strike a grand bargain with the United States, Israel, Egypt, some other European Union, if they decided what they want to do, then I think that our involvement will be positive.
And that's a big question, because till now we saw mainly conflict of interest between all the actors that intervened in Syria. Let's speak specifically about the Israeli interests versus the Iranian interests. Do you think Russia can still play a benign role of trying to settle down this conflict?
I think this is the substance of some of the discussions, the content of which we don't know. It's but definitely one of the Netanyahu's straightforward demands or requests from Mr. Putin is to make everything possible to distance Iran from Syria. It's not easy done, but I think it will be a preoccupation of both president and prime minister, whoever prime minister of your country will be. And I think that in exchange for certain strategic and tactical little victories, I think that Russia would be forthcoming. At the moment, we are at the absolute height of our relationship, historically, Russia and Israel, and I think this is what is in the interest of Russian Federation.
Very interesting. Let's speak for the end of this interview about this new upcoming news from the United States, the new peace plan of President Trump. What is the Russian comment on this plan? And also, do you see any possible involvement of Russia in promoting peace process in the Middle East, specifically between Israel and the Palestinians?
The first reaction of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs was interesting. We're not the party of the conflict, so we will wait for some explanations and then we'll come with the comment. Obviously, it's a polite language to say when Netanyahu comes tomorrow to Mr. Putin and explains some details, we'll make a comment. Definitely, I think that through our good relationship with you guys, with the Palestinian Authority, with the Egyptians, Iranians, Iraqis, and some others, through our direct involvement, I think we will say yes to the negotiations under the aegis of the Big Four: United Nations, United States, European Union, and Russia. We would be involved. I think we will play a constructive role. Our possibilities are limited, but they're considerable.
Because last year or during the last decade, there was time and again the idea of making a convention in Moscow. The Palestinians, Israel, this was one of the ideas. Do you think this can converge with the American efforts to promote the peace process?
It will largely depend on the position of Israel and the United States, European Union too. I'm sure that we have intellectual potential and, of course, logistical possibility to organize it well.
Including with Hamas.
I think that we have, at the moment, Putin managed to build up relationship which is pretty unique. Neither Brezhnev nor anybody before him had anything similar. So from this point of view, yes, he's well placed to host some kind of a... But I don't think the geographical location of such negotiations is important. And what's important is to make sure that Palestinians are not offended by the form in which Trump delivered the whole thing. You know, selling the nation for $50 billion, it's not something which would be easily eaten up by Palestinian authorities and many friends of Palestine all over the Arab world. So the delicacy of the diplomacy at the moment, how to sell the beginning of such negotiations, is something which I would visualize could be easily given to Minister Lavrov, who is a pro for many, many years, knows everybody in the region, and could be instrumental.
Thank you very much, and thank you all for watching. For more interviews, you might be interested in getting into our website and also the social media. We'll continue to update. Stay tuned.